I'm very tempted by another woman.
Homer Simpson? That's a dilly of a pickle. Hey, let's conference you with Marge, huh?
No!
We all know Homer's done some really horrible things over the years, usually as a result of his carelessness or misunderstanding, but there were 10 times he went just way too far, from putting the health of his loved ones in critical condition to cheating on Marge on multiple occasions. Here's a list of the 10 worst things Homer Simpson has ever done. Number 10, ruining his brother's business and turning him into a hobo.
What have I done? I mean, the zoo was fun, but I'm ruined!
When Abe is on his supposed deathbed, he admits to Homer that he in fact has a brother, arranging for the two to meet. Upon their meeting, we find out the Herb's actually a really nice guy, welcoming the Simpson family into his mansion with open arms. Herb and Homer really bond, with Herb being the older brother Homer never had growing up.
Say to yourself, if I was ever sure of anything, I'm sure of this!
Herb even decides to give Homer an executive role at his company for over $200,000, a salary that would be worth close to $1 million today. But all the kindness would be thrown right back in Herb's face. During the company's biggest investment show, Herb announces their newest car that he'd put Homer in charge of, hoping it would push the company's stock prices up. But once the car was revealed, both Herb and the investors were shocked. The car was an abomination. Homer had indulged in his fantasies with no regard to what this would do to his brother's company. As a result, all the investors pulled out, the company's stock dropped to zero, and his brother was now bankrupt. And so, in a single week, Homer destroyed everything his brother had worked for throughout the last 20 years, forcing him to live on the road as a hobo.
Why, you spongehead? Of course I'd have been better off! As far as I'm concerned, I have no brother.
Number 9, causing Barney's alcoholism.
Well, if it isn't Mr. Plow.
When you think of Barney, you probably think of a man who's thrown his life away, drinking himself to oblivion at Moe's Tavern. But what if I told you Barney was actually once the smartest kid in Springfield until Homer ruined everything?
All right, Herbert, here I come.
The night before Barney was going to sit his college entrance exams, Homer pressured him into drinking beer. The end result was that Barney got hooked. He missed his entrance exams in favor of taking more sweet Duff. As a result, Barney is now 45, single, and living at Moe's Tavern, all because of Homer. Number 8, Homer bets against his own daughter.
I'm going against my daughter.
I'll take your money, but I won't look you in the eye.
We all know Homer loves a quick buck, but this episode really shows how far Homer's willing to go to get it. After going through a depressing few weeks, Lisa's spirits are brought back up when she develops a love for crossword puzzles.
Grandpa, everyone knows that the only real test of skill is the New York Times puzzle, edited by Will Shorts.
Will and Shorts, two things I'm no longer allowed to change by myself.
She eventually decides to enter a crossword competition, wanting to show Homer how good she's gotten at the game. Homer starts betting on Lisa's wins, but on the final match decides to bet on her losing.
Here's your money, drenched in your daughter's tears.
This is especially heartbreaking for Lisa, since one of the reasons she asked Homer to come with her was to make him proud. So as a result, she loses it and disowns Homer, changing her last name to Bouvier.
Hey, Mr. S, Lisa B.
Number 7, Homer kicks Flanders out of his own bunker, leaving him to die.
I might go mad with fear out there, so Todd, I want you to shoot Daddy if he tries to get back in.
When Bart and Skinner discover a huge meteor heading towards Springfield, the entire town begins to panic, with experts warning the asteroid would likely wipe out the entire city.
It's times like this I wish I were a religious man.
It's all over, people. We don't have a prayer.
Ned had built an anti-apocalypse bunker to save his family, even storing enough rations to accommodate for the Simpsons family. So when the Simpsons knock on Ned's door, he welcomes them with open arms, happy at the chance to help the Simpsons. But that would turn out to be his biggest mistake. Once the rest of town gets wind of Ned's bunker, they show up to the Flanders, pleading with him to allow them a place to stay. Ned is initially skeptical, since this would surely mean they would probably all suffocate in there after a few days, still lets them in out of the kindness of his heart.
Yeah, I may regret this when our air runs out and we can't whistle or stay alive, but oh, what the hey?
But there's a huge issue. The door won't close. The bunker had too many people, so the group decide to cast one person out, allowing the rest of them to escape the meteor's radiation. But while they're going through everyone one by one, deciding who should be kicked out, Homer chimes in, demanding that Ned be kicked out, since he doesn't bring anything of value to Springfield.
Flanders is the only useless person here. If anyone dies, it should be him. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. So let's kick Flanders out.
Sorry.
Ned humbly agrees, bringing us one of the saddest scenes in Simpsons history.
Okay, Dad.
Okay. Hey, Sarah. Sarah. Whatever will be, will be.
The meteor turns out to be completely safe, so Ned survives. However, the complete disregard for the fact that Ned saved his life shows how truly despicable Homer can be. Number 6, Homer takes the family to shock therapy. When Homer feels like every other family in town is far closer and more functional than the Simpsons, he tries everything in his power to unite the family. However, nothing works until he sees an ad for family therapy in Moe's Tavern.
Just family bliss, or double your money back.
So Homer sells the TV and uses the entirety of the kids' college fund in order to pay for the treatment.
$88.50.
That's it? That's the college fund we've been saving for all these years?
However, the therapist Marvin Monroe tries everything he knows to get the Simpson family to bond, but nothing works. So he tells Homer there is only one thing that might work: shock therapy, but warns Homer that it isn't by any means a practice that he would promote. The family go through with it anyway, and just as Monroe had surmised, they shock each other mercilessly, only stopping when the entire town's power blacks out as a result. Number 5 completely ruined his father's kidneys.
Oh dear God, this man's kidneys have exploded. There's nothing left.
In the episode Kidney Trouble, Homer and the family are on a road trip when Abe urgently needs to use the restroom. However, instead of stopping at a gas station, Homer selfishly ignores his father's pleas and continues driving, causing Abe to suffer a complete kidney failure. This careless decision puts his father's life in immediate danger, as Abe now requires a kidney transplant to survive. Homer initially agrees to donate one of his kidneys, but in typical Homer fashion, gets cold feet right before the surgery, literally running away from the hospital, leaving his father in a dire situation. Homer is racked with guilt and repeatedly attempts to avoid responsibility, but after a series of selfish decisions, including boarding a ship full of misfit runaways, Homer finally faces his conscience and returns to Springfield, only to run away a second time.
Oh, son of a...
The only reason Abe is still alive was because Homer got hit by a truck, allowing the hospital to take his kidneys whilst he was unconscious.
It's out that door, you... I'll get my kidneys back, old man. You have to sleep sometime.
Number 4, cheating on Marge.
Oh, this is the worst crisis my marriage has ever faced. Colonel Clink, why have you forsaken me?
When Mr. Burns disposes of the old dangerous emissions supervisor, Mindy is hired to take his place. And during her tour of the factory, she's introduced to Homer, who is instantly starstruck. Homer, realizing his infatuation, tries everything in his power to avoid Mindy.
I'm very tempted by another woman.
Homer Simpson? That's a dilly of a pickle. Hey, let's conference you with Marge, huh?
No!
But it's no good. They keep crossing paths until one day when Mr. Smithers sends the both of them to a work trip to the National Energy Convention, where the two have to spend the entire weekend together, even sharing the same room. But despite his apparent fear that he might give in to temptation, he never once sets boundaries with Mindy. He never once tells Smithers or Mr. Burns that he doesn't want to go on the company trip, and when Mindy does enter his room, he welcomes her with open arms. Later that night, the temptation becomes too much for Homer, feeling as if he might give in to his lust at any moment, even being brought to tears when he realizes he might cheat on Marge. Mindy tells Homer she feels really strongly towards him, telling him if he wants to do it, the choice is his.
You don't have to do anything you don't want to.
Maybe I want to.
Camera then pans to Homer making out with Marge in the exact same hotel room, wearing the same dress as Mindy, giving us little explanation to how she got there, leaving viewers with two interpretations of what Homer did that night. Either he left without doing anything with Mindy, instead choosing to return with Marge to the same hotel room whilst wearing the exact same clothes in the same exact lighting, or he followed through that night and slept with Mindy, envisioning her as Marge in order to get over the mountain of guilt that had been building up throughout the episode. Either way, we do see this as Homer cheating on Marge, since at the very least he kissed Mindy and didn't tell Marge he was going away on a trip with a female coworker. Number 3, Homer almost killed everyone in Springfield.
Homer, it was you! You single-handedly killed this town!
In the Simpsons movie, Homer's reckless actions lead to the near destruction of Springfield. The catastrophe begins when Homer dumps a silo full of pig waste into Lake Springfield, despite knowing full well that the town was desperate to clean up the lake and prevent further pollution.
I hereby declare a state of emergency. Code Black.
His careless decision causes an environmental disaster, resulting in the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, placing a massive glass dome over the entire town to contain the pollution. Springfield is cut off from the rest of the world, with no way for the residents to escape. When the situation becomes dire as resources dwindle and the townspeople turn against each other, the EPA eventually decides to blow the entire town up in order to make sure the polluted state never expands.
Therefore, we're commencing with Operation Soaring Eagle, which involves killing you all.
Even though Homer eventually does save the town, ending the EPA once and for all, he is initially quite hesitant, only doing so when his marriage is at stake.
Homer Simpson! We're saving Springfield.
Listen to me, all of you. We are staying. We have a great life here in Alaska, and we're never going back to America again.
Number 2, Homer gets a second wife.
But Amber, I can change.
You shut up!
When Homer convinces Ned Flanders to let loose and embrace life a little more, he forces Ned on a spontaneous trip to Las Vegas, intending to show him how to have a good time.
Way to go, Flanders! The Bible's finally pulling its weight. Got any more holy numbers?
The two of them quickly get caught up in the wild Vegas atmosphere, indulging in heavy drinking and reckless behavior. As a result of their drunken escapades, both Homer and Ned end up marrying 2 cocktail waitresses, despite already being married to Marge and Maude.
Do you want to get married? Married.
Sure. Suck it to me, baby.
By the power vested in me by the Chicago outfit, I now pronounce you husbands and wives.
Though Homer's actions were fueled by alcohol, it doesn't excuse the fact that he cheated on Marge by entering a second marriage, not to mention the fact he covered the entire ordeal, keeping the entire thing a secret.
All right, let's get our story straight for Marge and Maude. We were out buying them fabulous gifts.
What's the occasion?
Because we loved them, jackass.
But before our final pick, I want you guys to choose what the next video will be on. You have 3 options: The Sad Life of Moe, The Darkest Things Mr. Burns Has Ever Done, or The Worst Things Ever Happened to Flanders. We'll go with the video idea with the most comments by the end of the week. Number 1, Traumatizing Bart. Throughout the show, it's clear Homer has never been the best dad to Bart, neglecting him as a child, constantly showing favoritism towards Lisa, and losing his temper at him constantly. But across the years, there has only ever been one constant in their relationship: strangling. The first time Homer ever strangled Bart was back when he was only 3, and ever since then the strangling has only become more and more brutal, with Homer often using electrical appliances and other devices to strangle Bart in later seasons of the show, often for little to no reason.
Think about what you did.
What did I do?
You little...
Not to mention making Bart feel completely inadequate his entire life, always bogging him down and making him feel unwanted. Throughout Bart's entire life, he always feels as if the only way he can be seen is through mischief and causing chaos for others. The catalyst for this behavior is none other than Homer's constant disregard during his childhood.
Well, not the boy. He drives me nuts. Sometimes I just like to...
And that's it for our top picks. Don't forget to like and vote for what the next video will be on in the comments below. And with that, we'll see you next time for more Springfield action.